Welcome to this demo class on object-oriented programming. So myself, Karthik N, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, GCE, Sengipati Tanjavur. In this video, I'm going to explain the concept of runtime polymorphism. So we know that polymorph is one of the very important element in object-oriented programming. So polymorphism is the ability to take more than one form. So the polymorphism can be classified into two types. One is called compile-time polymorphism, and second one is called as a runtime polymorphism. And we know that there are two. I mean, so if you are saying the compile-time polymorphism, so that a compiler itself can predict that the corresponding the function call at the time of compilation. So that we call as a compile-time polymorphism. So second one is a runtime polymorphism. The compiler not able to predict which is the method we are going to invoke at the time, and so invoke while program or the once the program going to execute. So then it's coming under uh, concurrent polymorphism. So normally for compile time polymorphism, overloading is an example, and for runtime polymorphism also. So now just I'm going to define what is runtime polymorphism. That is called it also runtime polymorphism is also to called as a method overriding. So so that means that the compiler can't able to predict which is the method it's going to execute at for the particular program. So that it is called as runtime polymorphism. So the definition of your method overriding is that means that the function name with the same number of arguments and with the same type, which is defined in both the overriding. So here, let's see this example. There is a one base class. We have a class here, derived creator. But there is no argument we have. So the name of the method is display. And the next thing is there is a class which is derived from the base. And also have a method definition method that is name is called as a display. So here for base class also we have the same definition. In derivative class also we have the same definition. I mean the same function name definition we have. So that that means the number of arguments in both in these two definitions are same. So this is called method overriding. It means that the derived class which is override the definition of your base class. It means that the definition of your base class will be hidden and means overridden by the definition of your derived class. Okay, so okay, just we can. So we know that when you are working on function overriding, means if you are saying that compile-time polymorphism, that is a function overloading is an example. So for the function overloading, so I think you know that the same function but the different number of arguments, and it can be predicted by the compiler at the time of compilation itself. So that it is very easy for us to predict it. But actually, overriding, it is very difficult to predict it. What is the method? Uh, what is the method we are going to execute, because that means that the same functioning we have only by using an object differences only we are able to predict it, which is the method we are going to execute. So so for that reason, just we are saying that means that so that it is coming under runtime polymorphism. Just I'm going to say that so JDK and Win. So now the path is set up. So just I'm going to test it whether it is. So now that API is set up. So now just I'm going to create a one simple program for by using. I'm going to define a one method here. Dot println. So I am in base class. So here I didn't use any logic and all, just to for printing, just to by using a print statement, just I'm going to say what is the concept behind it. So I'm going to derive from the base class. So here just I'm going to call the methods So here just I'm using the same method. So just I'm going to create a class. So it takes one command line arguments. Now I'm going to create, we know that by using a derived class, I'm going to create an object for the derived class and I'm going to call the method display. So already I mentioned that it's overriding, so that if you are using a concept of function overriding, always the base class function overridden by the derived class, so that always the base class will be, the derived class definition is visible. So this is overriding. So override the Java. So just I'm going to compile. So Java C overriding. So yes, no issue. So now I'm going to run it. So either it execute only for the derived class constructor. So sorry, derived class method. So it means that always to try to so you have must to know that whenever you are going to implement the concept of overriding, always that the intermediate class or the base class definitions are overridden by the derived class, so that only the definition of the derived class is visible while you are executing. So that whenever you are going to run with the help of your derived class object, it will work only for the derived class method. Okay, maybe somebody is thinking that if you are creating an object for a base class, what will happen? Yeah, that's not a problem. Even if you want to create an object for the base class, so that so just we are creating the object for the base class, so that it means that it will execute only the base class method. So means if you are creating a derived class method, means the base class definition is overridden, so that it will execute only the methods which means overridden definition. But if you are creating an object for the base class, means that here there is no link with the derived class, so that it will execute only the method in base class. Okay, so now the question is, so now you have some idea about it. So now the example, okay. So by using a derived, means always the derived class to override the base class definition, so that we are going to invoke means if you are invoking with the help invoking a method, overriding method with the help of derived class object, it will invoke only the derived class definition. Same if you are invoking with the base class definition, it will invoke only the base class. Okay, so there are two possible ways we are going to provide a solution for this method overriding in Java. One is called a dynamic method dispatch, and second one is called as we are going to provide a solution for method overriding. Again, with the dynamic method dispatches, just we are going to invoke a method by using only one object, but we are assigning a different different classes object. For example, I'm going to, so the first step of your dynamic method dispatch is just you are going to create an object without any reference. I will repeat once again. So just you are going to create an object without reference for the base class. Then after that, you are whatever object you want, you can create it. For example, I'm going to create an object for base class as well as derived class. So now just there are two objects, means object is created with the reference. Now I'm going to assign. So here I'm trying to open with execution, means access with the base class object only, so that it just we are assigning the object of the corresponding classes to access it. For example, if I want to invoke that method which is defined inside of the derived class, I can assign the derived class object just to invoke it. So in case if I next thing is I'm going to assign the object of the base class. So means that a base class object name is a B. So if I'm going to call that obj display, it always to invoke the method in base class. So here the concept of dynamic method dispatch, the first step is just we are going to, you have to create the object for all the classes which is present on the input, assigning the corresponding object of the particular class and invoke the method of the corresponding classes. Okay, so the first step I think that I'm expecting that I want to execute the method which is present in derived class. So that I'm going to call the by assigning the object of the derived class object by assigning to the base class object of without reference to assigning, so that the copy of the reference will be assigned here. So just invoking. So that this method invokes the concept of derived class method. Okay, now let us check it. So just I'm going to say that I'm going to compile this. So whatever the changes I think I didn't save it. Just I can check in. Yeah, still now I didn't save it. Yeah, now it's saved. So once again I can compile. So whatever changes you made, you must to save it. Then you can compile once again. So normally the class will. So this is a method, so that it will means that for this object that D1 is reference, the reference of the D1 is assigned. So the D1 is the object for the derived class, so that it invokes the method in the derived class. So here we are assigning the next step is I am assigning the object of the base class reference to the base of OBJ. So for this object, now if you are invoking the display method, it will be pointed to the base classes only. Okay, so this is the concept of dynamic method dispatch. So now you have some idea about a dynamic method dispatch. So for the dynamic method dispatch, just you are going to create now. One is the first step is you are going to create an object of the base class without any reference. Then we are going to assign it. Means that we are going to invoke a method. So if you want to invoke any classes method by assigning the reference object of the corresponding classes to that base object, by using the base object, just we can going to invoke it. So here you can't. You made that. Maybe you think that. So that's now we are here. I'm assigning the object of the D1. So that why the compiler is not able to predict. Why you are saying it is a runtime polymorphism? Why you are saying it can be predicted at the runtime? So actually, means that so here this is an object. So that only at the time of running the compiler means we can able to know that what is the reference you are going to point. The reference means what is the address you are pointing out. So that is a very, very important thing. So that only the address can be able to know only at the time of running. So that means the address of the object means assigning. This is a calculation. The calculation will be happen only at the time of running. So that compiler can't able to predict it. So what is the method? Means what is that object is assigned to that this base object. So that it is not possible to predict at the time of compilation. So that we can say it is called runtime polymorphism. So that we call as a method overriding is coming under runtime polymorphism, because the method of the reference is not known until the program is running. So that it's coming under runtime polymorphism. Okay, so the next, so just go for the next one. So there are another one more solution also we have, means that by using super. The dynamic method and dispatch in super is, means a super keyword is, if you want to execute any one of the method in either base or derived class, we can go with the dynamic method dispatch. But if you want to invoke all the method, means more than one say method overriding, means the method overriding concept, then we can go with the super function. For example, I'm expecting that I don't want to go with like this. I'm not interested to create a base class object and all. So I want to create only the derived class object. Repeat once again, just I'm interested to create only the object for the derived class, but by using this object, I'm expecting to invoke all those methods. All means all the methods of all methods, it may be which is present in both the base class and as well as derived class. But we know that with the help of derived class object, always the derived class override the definition of your base class, so that the base class method is not visible. Okay, so in this situation, so and I'm expecting to call the base class display method also. So we know that we can call from anywhere. So as a normal function calling, if you are defining, if you are using inside of the class, there is no need for any reference and all. So if I'm calling like this, so it means that it always to reference to the same function only. So we know that it is a function call. So function call. So but this is a function call. So we know that we are calling the function inside of the same function. So it is called recursion. But here I didn't mean that I don't want to execute the same function once again. I want to execute the definition which is present in a superclass. So we know that if you want to transfer the control to the previous in super. By using a super.display, it means that the control will be transferred to the base class. But here there is no restriction that for the function calling is not to be in the first line of your object. It maybe you can call it in anywhere. But actually, if you are using a super keyword in a constructor hierarchy, so we have said that it must be the first statement of your constructor definition. But here for using this super keyword for invoking of your immediate base class method or overriding method, we can define it anywhere. For example, just I can show it as a demo. And just like compile, no error. Just I'm going to run it. Just a minute. I think sorry, I didn't invoke any method here, so that you won't see any error output. So just I'm calling the method. Okay, so just assigned. Just I'm compile now. So no error, just I'm going to run it so that you execute a base class and derivative class. So that the order of the execution is predicted by, as a programmer, you have to predict it. So here that is not restricted that it may be on any part of your function body, not to be in a first line. But if you're using in a constructor, the use of this super must be calling of your base class constructor. It must be in a first statement. Otherwise, the compiler creates an error message. So that we can use it anywhere. Compiler not showing any error messages on all. So this is the way we have to provide a solution for function overriding. Okay, so here another one more thing I want to define. So according to the definition of the function overriding, the same function name, same number of arguments, which is defined in same data type also. For example, I'm going to say int a. I have only local variable. I'm not interested to go with any instance variable and all. Just I have some prediction. So in this case, if I'm going to say int something b here, it is called as a function overriding only. Same function name, same number of arguments with the same type. So no need to think about the name of the variable, means a formal parameter. You need to worry about your display. That is called your same number of same name. The condition for function overriding is same name, same number of arguments. Here number of arguments is 1, and also the same type of arguments. So for this case, the function name is the same, number of argument is 1, and the data type of both the method definition is integer. So that it is called function overriding. If you are saying it is a float, it is not coming under function overriding. Even we can able to access, see that just I can able to access 3.4f. We know it is a float. Even I can just calling b1 dot display 3. So we know that if you are using a function overriding, it will know only the base class definition. Now we have to check it whether it's a coming under function overriding or not. So here, super is not applicable here because we need to pass this argument. So here I don't want to pass it. Just I can remove that. So no errors. Just I'm going to run it. See that it executes a method, but here I didn't use any method overriding, and as well as see that sample case here I didn't use any method overriding. So method overriding as well as a super definition. Even there is no definition found in the derivative class definition. So from that we can say that this is not coming under this category is not coming under overriding, because according to the definition of the function overriding, the same function name is there, the number of argument is 1. Here also in derivative class the same function name and the number of argument is 1, but it is not the same type because here the data type is int, but here the data type is float, so that it is not coming under integer, means it is not coming under method overriding, so that you can call as usual, because it can be easy to predict it. This is called overloading also, so that by using a prediction of your parameters, so it is a float so that it executes the method in derivative class. So this is an integer so that it executes the method in base class. So it's not coming under as a normal function call. It is not coming under function overriding. Okay, so this is the one more thing this is the thing you have to understand. And the next thing is just I'm going with another one more. I'm going to create another one more intermediate class. So extends base. So just I'm going to create from intermediate. So here there are 3 levels of hierarchy. Just I follow. So I'm using intermediate class instead of this. Just I'm using only, sorry, intermediate class. Just I'm removing all the arguments and go with the default parameters. That is, it depends on your application. Even the default parameter, default parameters, or maybe means default arguments, or maybe a parameter arguments, and depends on our choices only. You can check it. Yeah, yes, okay. So now see that I'm calling d1.display. So now it's coming under function overriding, because the same function is same type of argument and same number of argument, which is defined in both in base class and as well as derivative class. So that it's coming under function overriding. So just I'm going to create this. Just I'm compiling and checking for is there any error. No error. So function overriding is supporting. Sorry, I didn't save it. Save. So now I just am compiled. As you see that invalid method declaration, that's a return type require. So line number 19. I can check it first. So line number 19. The base class into extends base. Yeah, sorry. Okay, so now just try and compile it. Yeah, sorry, I forgot to remove all these local variables. So sorry for this mistake. So okay, just I can remove everything because I used only the default constructors, so that I don't have any parameters and all. Here I don't. And here I didn't use any instance variable as well as a local variable. So for previous demo just I used, but I forgot to remove it before compile. Yeah, it's now compiled. So no error. Just I'm going to run it. So it execute only the derivative class, because here the method overriding is there. So always that derivative class. So if you want to use, so that even if you are pointing d1.display, always to reference to only the derivative classes only, because it's an overrider. So that if you want, you can use method overriding concept. So by using dynamic method dispatch, as usual, you can create an object for a base class. And also you can create an object for whatever the classes you want. For example, I'm going to create an object for the base class. So my suggestion, better you can create for object for all the classes and assigning. So IMP. So I'm assigning the object to the corresponding corresponding object to the required object to call. Now assign it. So now just I'm going to say that my object name is a B. So I'm going to initialize with I'm going to call with B, so that I'm going to assign as B equal to D1. Okay, so D1 means it is a derivative class. So just I used the dynamic method dispatch. So for dynamic method dispatch, creating a separate reference for every classes. Then you are creating an object for your base class without any reference. Then assigning the object for the different classes just to be called. So now for this execution, just assign it to the object of your base class, so derivative class, so that you execute the derivative class definition. So now just I'm going to run it. So it will invoke intermediate class. If I name the object of your base class, so that now it will invoke the base class object for invoke the method in a base class. See there, I'm in a base class, so that it will execute it like this. So this is the concept of this is the problem. This is the way you are solving the concept of method overriding by using dynamic method dispatch. Even if you want, you can use a super also. It is on your choice. So super dot display. So I think already I told that if you're calling super with that, automatically it goes to the immediate base classes only. So that for this case here, I'm using a super display for the derivative class, so that the immediate base class is inter, so that it executes a method in intermediate the method inside of the intermediate classes also will execute. So that there are two possible outputs here. One is some derivative class intermediate class definition, and as well as derivative class definition, but it won't execute the base class definition. So it if you want to make a control transfer to the base class by using a super keyword, you must to call by using super keyword, call the function by using a super keyword in only intermediate class. Not possible to make a control transfer to the base class from derived class. It is not possible. So we are using a super keyword, just it can transfer the alter to execution transfer the control to only the base class. The immediate base class only, not for the foremost, that is called upper base class. So the hierarchy will go from bottom to top. It's a one level at a time. So that if you are moving from intermediate base class, from that you can move by using super keyword. But we can't able to switch it from directly from derived classes to base class by using super keyword if you have more than one level of inheritance hierarchy. So this is the way we are going to solve the concept of method overriding in Java.